Okay, hi there, my name's Luke. I'm basically just going to be giving a discussion and just sort of an explanation on the plan that I've set in place. It's basically going to be a football session sort of based around in a PE curriculum. I'm just going to be going through this and discussing this with you. Just sort of got like the introduction here and what our lesson objectives are and the outline of the structure. Sort of what the pupils are going to be doing during that and what sort of resources that I'm going to require for this. And obviously I've got timing here. We want the session, normal sort of PE session within a school. If you've got an hour after the kids are changed and everything like that, and getting changed back into their uniform, it's going to sort of be like 45-minute session. So I just broke it down into introduction, two main activities, and a conclusion. And we're just basically going to go through that. So I'm just basically explaining this to headmistress here, sort of like what I've set up here. So with my lesson objective, my objective is basically going to sort of position myself and the children in a good position to communicate with them at all times so I can get my key information across to them. And basically I want to make sure that I'm explaining the key points of the session, to also ensure that the group is understanding what I'm asking of them. This can basically be done by just sort of questioning them on this, getting them move, and sort of say, do you understand those key points, or do you think you can explain those two key points of that area, or of that certain skill? And just say, if you understand two, move to the left. If you understand one, stay in the middle. If you don't understand any of them, if you can't explain any of them, move to the right. And I can sort of get an understanding of how much of the group, and I can basically just say, if there's somebody that's moving to two and they're not quite sure of that and they are sort of maybe trying to pull the wool over my eyes, I can just say, right, name those two for me. They can name those two and that's fine. We can sort of move on, and we can carry on with that, and we just keep doing that throughout the sessions. I can monitor it as well. Also, trying to ensure that by the end of it the group have a good general understanding of football and how to play the game, within the time period that we have. So it would just be by going through that process of elimination, what I've just said, by getting them to move left, middle or right, just sort of saying how many points they actually understand about that and how many points they can explain. With that first part, the pupils will sort of be sat or stood in a semicircle around, in front of me, so I can view all the pupils at the same time, so that they can see me giving out the communication and information that I want to get to them. We've got the outline of the structure as well. We're basically going to get a warm-up going, just get the hearts racing, get the bodies and minds prepared to take part in the activity for what we want to do. We basically have some fun and games, sort of like a bit of possession keeping and a couple of little dribbling drills, just to basically get, these are two key things that you need in a match. You're going to be dribbling with the ball and you're going to be passing to other members on your team. So that's going to be a good part of the outline structure there. There'll be a couple of sort of like ways you're dribbling and shooting as well. To win a game of football, you need to be able to score goals. So it's just going to be somebody may have passed you. You might need to just dribble a little bit of distance around a defender maybe, or just to get a better shooting opportunity at goal, and then just get them doing a couple of shooting drills included within that dribbling. So just dribbling from one cone to another and then shooting from that area, and just seeing if they can get a shot on target at least, or maybe even a goal. At the end of that, we have a match at the end, 3 teams, keep rotating the teams around, just so keep giving the teams a breather. Have them stood near me as well, so maybe they can sort of get some observation on there. They can see what they, what positive things that the other team are doing, and how they can relate that into their game as well, and how they can use that for improvement. So they'll all be stood next to me, or sort of like sat or stood in a semicircle in front of me when explaining these points as well, of what we're going to be doing. We're doing a quick sort of like welfare check as well, just checking for jewellery, injuries, fitness and kit, just making sure they've got shin pads on. Shin pads are key. Sure you get any wax on the shins and that, it's going to be very sore, especially when we don't want any broken legs as well. So shin pads are very important. Obviously that's not going to happen because we're also going to be on the AstroTurf. at the school, so we're not going to have any sliding, just due to the sheer fact that you can get it's going to be a relatively new sport to the kids, to some of them, so they might not quite know how to time challenges yet, and plus if you slide an astro, you will get astro burn and there'll be serious injuries. So that's how we're going to prevent that. That's one of the sort of like the health and safety things, of which we took into consideration with that. And just basically linking up this to the curriculum of PE and everything, just by assessing it really, and sort of getting the kids to sort of feedback to me by moving left, right or centre into what they understand, and that's basically how the introduction is going to pan out. In the main activity, one of the key points of that is going to be the inclusion. So what I've come up with is that we're going to split the groups into different ranges of ability, styles and characteristics, just making sure that we sort of set up some experts with some novices. So you might get somebody that's already played for a club, they could have been playing for 5 or 6 years when it comes to that point, and they're feeling very confident about playing. You might get somebody that's only ever had a couple of kickabouts with their mates, maybe a couple of other football sessions that they've done at previous schools, and they're not feeling too confident about their ability and everything else. So just mix them up. You want to get quiet and loud people together as well, just so you're getting a mixture in the group. You're not having you're getting sort of like introverts and extroverts together, and just sort of creating a good atmosphere and group of people around there. The pupils' activities during that point will be getting organised into the groups that I've set for them. The resource that we'll be using, sort of like cones, bibs, footballs, and obviously we'll be using the AstroTurf as well as the main resource. We've got differentiation in the group as well. So what I'm going to do is we're giving the group a few decisions to make. It's what I like to do. Just sort of when we're doing the possession, just use different parts of their feet when passing. So it might be outside, laces, inside. They might use a back heel. It's just to basically get them thinking and being more inventive, and not sort of restricting themselves to using one kind of pass. And what I'll do at the end of this is I'll basically just get them to move into that left, centre or right. So I'll get them to move left if they feel that inside the foot was more comfortable for them passing, middle if they felt the laces, and right if they felt the outside of the foot was more comfortable to pass with. And just sort of how they, this will basically just get me sort of thinking of how how good their innovation is, and sort of how inventive they are with their play and how creative they are. And sort of like if they're basically going to keep things basic, just using the inside of the foot, easiest way to pass it, or if they are looking to sort of try and learn new things and sort of broaden their learning style and playing style within that respect. Basically just get the pupils' activities will just be getting them to provide me with the answers and information about them, just moving into those areas, and it will just sort of determine what their playing styles are for me and sort of how comfortable they are. Just so if I do need to change the groups when it comes to the matches, just maybe with getting a good idea of their ability as well. Assessment, basically asking numerous amount of questions just by doing the process again. Move left, centre or right. It basically just keeps them active. While answering as well, it's not sort of I'm picking on one or two people all the time. I'm broadening it and sort of saying, if you could name those 2 points and move left, right, it just gives me the chance to sort of do it within the session. It's a quick little thing to do as well, just so I can keep track of that. And people's activities will just be helping me to determine that by moving into those areas and sort of like with the set activities of which I've given them, which will be good. Just making sure with the assessment as well that I'm in the right areas to also assess while they're doing the activities as well, just so I can keep track of that. Sort of like the main health and safety points in there again, just with the possession. Maybe just sort of making interception. We don't want to sort of go into tackle straight away, so just interception based, not actually challenging the players, just waiting for the ball to come, and so as they try and make a pass, you're just trying to just get in there and nick it in between the two players that are trying to complete the pass. Obviously another health and safety thing, cones as well on the Astro, so I'll just make them aware of the cones, making sure that they're not sort of going right to the edge, that if they are going to the edge just to control the ball, so he's giving them a bit of a loose ball, that they are watching out for the cones and that they are aware of them, so they don't slip on them and maybe twist their ankle or anything like that. So that is a key point as well to be watching out for. A main activity too, with the inclusion as well, is basically just making sure I am including everybody further that we are going into the activities, irrespective of their abilities, just making sure the people's activities will be that they are all taking part, because you might have a kid that's might have a disabled kid in there. It's just making sure making sure that you are facilitating for him as well, and that you are leading the group, encouraging them and questioning at the same time. So with facilitating for him, it could just be that you might get him to sort of observe that, help you out, because you might just need a couple of other things, get to do a couple of demonstrations with you, just sort of involved within there. A good thing with the possession thing is that you need to get the ball to him at the end. So it might also be sort of that you always sort of getting the ball to, each team has to get the ball to that kid in the area at the end to sort of like score a point. Has to go through the whole team, and you have to get to that person at the end, and sort of, and you've got the ethnic groups as well, just making sure they're all joining in at one stage and every other stage, and with all the mixed abilities and groups as well, that they are sort of mixing that up. So you might have some other religious kids that might not sort of really socialise with other people out of their specific groups, so it might just be mixing them up and separating them within the groups, so that they can socialise and sort of learn more about other people, and sort of joining in with those sports and sessions, and that they are enjoying that. Differentiation again, just making sure that not everybody actually learns in the same way. You've got sort of a variety of different styles of teaching and learning methods, such as like visual, audio and kinesthetic. So what I'll do is I'll make sure it's set up into the match situation and all the other drills, that the pupils are being tested and that they are learning to their abilities of the ways that they are learning. So I'll make sure some of it also I'm going to be speaking, so it's going to sort of be audio, visual. I'm going to make sure there's good demonstrations in there as well. And sort of kinesthetic, sort of like a mixture with that, just making sure that there are sort of like there are visual things with demonstrations, and I am explaining the teaching points as well for other people that may learn that way. Pupils will basically just be taking part in the many different activities set to accommodate those different learning styles and different teaching techniques from myself. And just making sure that you might sort of have somebody that doesn't particularly learn very well. You might have a quiet person that learns very well, but you might have a loud person which doesn't really like to learn, likes to disrupt the group. So you've got to sort of think of how you're going to include them within the group as well, but also with their learning style. You need to make sure that maybe you might just put them with the quieter people, and maybe put some of the quiet people with the loud people, and what they'll do is hopefully it should balance it out. It should be that maybe they bring the quiet people out of their shell a bit more, and that they are sort of getting engaged with that, and they're like, yeah, that's fine, I really want to do this now. I'm feeling more motivated, I'm socialising more, I'm talking more with my teammates, and then loud people might think, right, let's not disrupt the group, I'm really quite enjoying this, I'm helping these other people out, and my focus and concentration is going on that instead of disrupting the group. I'm actually enjoying taking part in this. So that's a good way of doing that. Again, monitoring, making sure I'm taking up the good positions. With that, just ensuring that after each one I am sort of asking the questions, getting them to divide into the groups again, left, centre, right, just I am questioning them, and also that I am praising them throughout the session, encouraging them, and basically ensuring that they are aware that I am taking notice of the positive things, and maybe some things that they might need to improve on as well during the session. But the improvement lead to them, which makes sure that there is pure encouragement throughout, to ensure that they are sort of putting 110% in with that participation. Assessment again, just checking that at the end of sort of like the main activities that most pupils, they do feel that they have achieved the lesson objective, and if they actually thought that they did themselves. So I'll get the pupils moving into the areas again, sort of left, right, and that, if they can actually name, if they think that they can name, because that was one of the things on here, as it shows with the introduction, that it was to actually sort of understand and name key areas of techniques and parts of the game. So I will be getting them to do that. Just moving to the last bit, sort of like with the conclusion. So we'll just basically be checking the progress to compare the progress with the lesson objectives, sort of like what I actually set them. Did they achieve that? And also how they thought they achieved that. So getting them to move into those areas again, left, middle, or right, sort of on how many areas they think they picked up. So I might just say, what were the key points to dribbling, sort of like with your head up, keeping the ball close to your feet. Those two key teaching points of that. Might just be like sort of like distributing your weight within there as well when turning with the agility. I might just say, right, if you know all three areas, move to the left. If you know one or two of those areas, in the middle. If you know none of those areas, move to the right. And it will just basically get me a good understanding of how honest people are being, because I can just sort of pick one or two people out of those areas and say, right, can you name those areas for me? And if they don't, then they've obviously gone the wrong route, and there could be a few other people in there as well. But it's basically just giving me a good idea of that. Obviously linking it to the learning outcome as well, sort of like how that affects the curriculum, and sort of what the learning outcomes that they have learned throughout the session, and what more they understand about the sport. So it will just be getting the pupils to move into those areas again, sort of left, centre, right, with the areas of which I'm giving them to choose from. Make sure I'm giving them positive praise as well about the performance and how well they all did. This will basically just sort of boost their motivation and morale, and just sort of think, yeah, that was great, I'm really looking forward to the next session. And obviously that sort of increases attendance as well within sessions, and the participation factor side of things. Basically, when giving praise, I'll probably just have them stood in a semicircle in front of me, so I can see them all again, just so I can monitor, making sure that they're just not disturbing or disrupting, or sort of making the experience unpleasant for others. There's nobody sort of poking or prodding people. I have got a good visual on them, and I can give eye-to-eye contact when actually giving them the positive praise and saying how well they've done the session. Make sure I'm feedback and signposting that feedback as well, giving the feedback to the group, and then getting feedback from them on their own performances, how they think they've done. So I might get them to move into the groups again, just sort of saying, if you feel that you've done well today, move to the left. If you feel you've done well, but there's bits you improve on, centre. If you don't feel like you had a good time, didn't do well, move to the right. And just sort of maybe just see how well they think, and if they do have any things that they want to say to me after, they very well can. But yeah, this will basically just get me to get them to think about how they can improve and signpost a few things. Not just me giving them information, but they are also thinking about how well they've done themselves. As I said, where they'll be doing that. Also, just going by the health and safety as well, just checking that they are still all okay. They haven't picked up any injuries, bumps, knocks, anything like that. Just make sure I'm providing back with any possessions that they did have at the start of the session, which they would have been told previously to leave. But if they have forgotten anything, they've left them in your pockets, that I am giving them all back, and just make sure they all do sort of leave the area safely, and that they all do return into their next lesson on time and everything else, and etc. With that, the last part really will be the preview, and the review about it, just basically to determine how much the pupils have learned altogether, basically going through all these processes again, just getting them moved left to right, just at the end, quick little thing just to test them on a few little bits of knowledge, just to make sure they have understood the teaching points. Just basically giving them some encouragement on that again. And throughout the session, just making sure that they have been focused on the activities that I have planned, and that they have been learner focused on those, and they have sort of felt that it's met their individual needs as well. But yeah, that's basically everything within that plan, and how I've explained that to you. And I look forward to hopefully running that session within your school.